So basically, now we know that we are an official podcast.
Yeah.
I am D. We have 3 episodes and the lost episode after this, right? So we are beyond the infancy stage, but I don't think we're here completely yet. So hopefully,
Well, it's very impressive.
yeah, hopefully we don't have technical difficulties as we've had in the past. But our new producer, again, if you haven't noticed, our new producer, young D. Darius on the camera 4 over there, giving you a look. He has been the magic man. Things went very smoothly last time. Got things edited. It's that I just have to go back to sometimes, like Donald Trump. You even have to fire your family sometimes, right, Griffin? Griffin was a producer coach on the first episode. Didn't go well. Then we had a lost episode. I had to fire my son.
Well, it looks like you got a real go-getter now. So,
Yeah, he seems to know what he's doing over there. But very excited today. Everybody comes up with top lists in their life. It's a fun thing to do. I know for a fact if somebody asked me who my top 5 coaches are in my life, number 1 would be our guest today, the former head coach, 25 plus year coach of the Bentley. 30 plus years of the Bentley University Falcons.
Yeah.
Thom Boerman.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thank you,
coming
Derek.
in today.
appreciate it.
Yes. Yeah, that's good right there. I like it,
Yeah.
D. I am excited to have you here. Just like, first of all, personally to have you here just to reminisce is so much fun for me. I'm going to have people in the studio that I barely know, but I was fortunate to have you as a coach when there was a lot of changes to the program. When I was coming in, you were going from club
Division 3
to Division 3. You watched it go from Division 3 to Division 2.
Yep.
I just think we want to start with that. Like, what was club football like back in the day?
Yeah, it's hard to explain.
What years was that,
So
Tom?
I arrived in '84, and it had been club since '73. And the club scene was you're not affiliated with the NCAA, so it's just a group of guys who want to play football, and so they get their funds together, go scrape together a coach and some helmets and shoulder pads and get a schedule going, a club schedule. And we were kind of lucky, I think, in New England because Merrimack, Assumption, Stonehill, early on, Worcester State, Southern Connecticut, those schools all had club teams at the time.
So you're on the same boat.
Yeah, exactly. And so we were able to not have to travel real far. And that was another thing because of the cost of travel. And it actually was a fairly, legitimate scene because there was a national championship, which we played for.
Nice.
And
So when you say national championship, like from here to California?
well, the team we played in the championship was from New York. So I don't know how far
of a reach.
around the region. Yeah, I think it was, I know there were some teams down in the Midwest area. But then that scene just really started to die out. It just, again, for financial reasons for some schools.
Yeah.
We were lucky again with Bentley, willing to kick in some money.
Yep.
And the other teams that we were affiliated with at a club level all agreed to go Division 3 in the Northeast 10. So we were able to retain most of our.
So it was called the
NE
NE10? I can't even remember.
It was the NE8.
Wasn't it ECAC?
Well, the NE10 was part of the ECAC, East Coast Athletic Conference.
Yeah.
So, again, for us, the transition was pretty smooth to Division 3, and it's something that we really, really were excited about.
Yeah.
It sounded like we were a legitimate college program.
Yeah. Well, you were.
We were.
You were.
Yeah,
There's still, my son, one of my sons, Noah, played club hockey at BSU, Bridgewater State University, and they went all the way down and played University of Tampa because they don't have a D anything team, right? So clubs still exist today.
Sure, it does. Yeah,
it sounds the same. Got to be funded by yourself. You got to raise money. You got to get it all done by yourself, and then see what happens from there, right? So
exactly.
Yeah, that's kind of the tough part.
Even big universities, I know, like UMass has club baseball, for example.
And club lacrosse is big for these big schools because they don't know whether to get in or out of it.
Well, plus the NCAA has mandated that some sports, in other words, if you're a Division I sport, with the exception of hockey, that's why Bentley has a Division I hockey team, every other sport has to be equitably distributed.
Yeah, that was a
That's
question I was going to have for you anyways. So that's how they're able to do that? There is an exception to
unless
hockey?
you have a club team, yeah. So if you have a legitimate NCAA baseball team, it has to be the same division as your football team and your basketball
Yeah,
team.
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So that's like Stonehill went D2, D1, and everybody went D1.
Everybody has to.
Yeah, so
Bryant went D1, same thing.
everything.
Merrimack.
Do you think Bentley will go D1?
I wish I could say I'm optimistic, but I'm really not. I talked to one of the VPs at Bentley at a hockey game, and I said that to him. I say, look, everyone's gone D1. When is Bentley going to go? And he didn't seem too enthusiastic.
Yeah,
I think the Division I hockey program, they were in the Frozen Four with BC. They were really strong.
Did a great
program.
job. Go
job.
Falcons. That was
And
a
that
great
building's
run.
really, they did a nice job.
Awesome arena.
But I think that what drives the decision is the basketball programs. You know, to go Division I in women's and men's basketball, they're in the national conversation.
Bentley's always
every year.
been a basketball school.
Always. So I think for them to say, yeah, we're going to go Division I, the next sport that goes, all sports have to go.
Yeah.
So I think they're hesitant because of basketball. That's my opinion.
I watched, one of my sons, Gavin, at U Tampa was D2 lacrosse, and they scrimmaged all D1 teams and held their own. It really depends on the sport. I mean, if you're going to decide you're a D1 football program, the confusing part to me these days is you're going to play Georgia.
Yeah.
I honestly think D1 is too diluted anyways. Like, I can't see Stonehill playing Georgia unless it was just a kickback to get your ass kicked. UMass,
when they went Division I,
Yeah.
they did play Georgia and Hawaii and South Carolina for money. I mean, they were paid
get your
$2
ass kicked
million.
for a kickback. That's
right.
2 Ks, right? That's what they would call it.
You get $2 million, you're going to spend $1 million on ace wrap.
Correct.
You're going to get your ass kicked. That's right.
Yeah. That's
but
great.
there's a financial consideration there. But we're playing. Bentley is playing Bryant this year.
It's we.
It is we.
I'm saying we.
Yeah, we. Okay, it's a we.
It's a we
They're
thing.
playing Bryant this year with Division I, and they could play Stonehill tomorrow and not be any different than playing them last year.
Yeah.
But it does open up a few other possibilities in terms of funding because especially Northeast 10, they limit the financial aid compensation. The way that it works is you have what they call
The financial is it financial aid for you can't give money to student athletes like in financial aid, you mean?
You can, but they call
restrictions.
Yeah, I don't know if it's not equitables. What it is there's 16 tuitions worth of financial aid. So if tuition at
quarter
Bentley
or
is
half.
yeah, well, exactly.
Tuition at Bentley's like $1 million a year now.
$88,000 or something this year. How do people?
Did you hear that,
afford
Darius? How much
Crazy.
did he?
It's crazy.
$88,000.
Yeah.
Well, that's because they bring in too many extremely rich kids who can pay it all, and then then they're trying to get every normal kid to pay 50 plus, and then they're trying to get other people to 25 that are actually athletes instead of free anymore.
Can you
it's a
imagine
game.
trying to recruit in that environment though?
Oh.
No scholarships.
Yeah.
$88,000. And we'll
Wait,
help.
what?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we were able to help. We had a pot of money that was allowed by the Northeast 10 conference up to a certain limit that we could offer for financial aid. But then you have to parse that out. So Derek Perry wants to come to Bentley and he needs $10,000 more to make it palatable.
work.
But Sean Hilliard's coming to Bentley and he wants $15,000.
Give Sean the money.
Well, Sean was
Sorry, Sean deserves the money.
well, but that it's funny. I was thinking about the defensive backfield that you played in. Sean and Timmy, you and Paul. I mean, that was an excellent defensive backfield. And I actually look back. When did you graduate? 90?
I graduated in 90. My last playing season was 91. 92 I graduated.
So if you remember the 90 season, we went 7-1.
That's right. Lost to Yulo. That was my
that kid
junior
Lafferty, if you remember that.
I tackled him. Listen, I'm a free safety.
Yep.
No touchdowns first. I had 14 tackles in that game. It was like the parting of the Red Sea.
Yeah.
Tackles were more like I dragged somebody down or
Got in the way.
I did not run anybody over in that game. They were all, honestly, back in that day, that's part of a conversation we can have, go back and forth to, but they were all on steroids, those boys.
Oh,
And,
well,
oh
and
my
they
God.
were older. I remember
older.
talking. Yeah.
They were just, they were puffy and pink.
Yep.
I remember all of them. I'm looking going, oh, because that's when steroids is really just kind of rampant. Even within our group, it was some craziness going on that I wasn't a part of, but seen it.
Oh.
And I looked at that game and I said, wow, like that's just, is it really worth it? But that's a whole nother subject, so to speak. I'm not going to digress to that.
Still, it goes back to the team that you were on that year,
God,
especially. That kid Lafferty was a transfer from Penn State.
Yeah.
They had kids that had just gotten out of the Marines. Their wives and kids are in the stands.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we're playing
all beards.
we're playing out of our kind of comfort zone.
It was a good game, 14-0. I remember it. That was our only loss. So you always remember your only loss.
But you guys only gave up, I think, it was
14.
less than 5 points a game that season.
We had
4
like,
shutouts.
I thought we had 5 shutouts. It
might have been.
It was crazy what we were doing. And then like one of the non-shutout games was second string gave up a bomb. Yeah. Like, and that poor kid, I remember, I'm not mentioning a name, but got roasted for giving it up.
Sean broke his hand or broke his wrist or something. Timmy was hurt.
He had a broken finger. I had broken finger.
Paul was all banged up. And
but man, though, on my teams, though, I was so lucky. Charlie White. I mean, all these guys up in front of me were just tackling machines.
Yep.
And I really was just make sure that it wasn't, sneak one by us over the top. So my first 5 steps were back, not my first 2 to see what was happening.
You guys were very good. And Derek, you were very good. You played with good players and on a good team, and that's always fun.
Yeah, that was fun. So you spent how many years as an assistant coach?
25.
And that was before you became a head coach? Because you didn't coach after again, right?
No,
so beforehand.
Yeah.
Almost all defensive backs
all
too,
defense.
right?
I was defensive backs for 24, DC for 1 year, then became head coach for 5 more seasons.
For 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was Harrington. Coach Harrington was a defensive coordinator. And you guys were like shitting it. You guys were, I mean, you could have been a defensive coordinator in 1 year, and he could have been I don't ever remember him with the defensive backs. I don't ever remember you having to go with the linebackers or down linemen. You guys were in sync.
It worked well.
You were in sync.
That started with the club program, in that when I first went there, we had about 50 players on the team, and there were 4 coaches. Me and Mike had the defense, and Coach Yetton and Coach Tomaso had the offense.
I remember both of them.
So there's 4 of us. Yeah. And Coach Yetton and Coach Tomaso, they had nothing to do with defense at all.
Nothing.
Coach Harrington and I had nothing to do with the offense.
Yeah.
Coach Harrington and myself, we worked really well together. We understood each other and respected each other's ability to coach. And again, we were fortunate with the types of players we had.
You were quiet with Yetton. Coach Peter Yetton, for all those who don't know, was the head coach of this whole time. He was also the offensive coordinator, basically.
Yep.
Quarterback coach. So we had a running back coach or a lineman coach, but he was really in charge of the offense. And you and Coach Harrington basically in charge of the defense. And I think Coach Harrington was a better defensive coordinator because he liked to argue with Peter.
Oh, he did.
You didn't want to argue with him all the time.
No.
He was
he'd win.
The practices, like coming out of high school, it was kind of like, I played both ways, all team. It was crazy. High school's so different. But then you go to college and you're on one side of the ball or the other. And literally in practices, it was like a war against our own team most of the time, because that was our best competition we were facing. Almost week in, week out, our offense was the best offense we were going to see.
True.
And Coach Yetton was nuts, and Coach Harrington were nuts.
Coach Yetton is one of the winningest coaches in the country. I think he had 230 or 240 wins. And that again, that's with a small staff and no money.
Yeah.
And with guys that let's face it, I always told people, your average accountant is not 6'4", 300 pounds. Your average accountant is more like 5'10", 170 pounds.
Yeah.
It wasn't a football factory.
Yeah.
And yet we were one of the best teams, certainly in New England.
Oh, for sure.
For what we had.
Sure.
And Coach Yetton that's a kudos to him.
Yeah, it is a kudos to him. Coach Yetton, to me, I painfully misunderstood him as a player. I came off a rah-rah coach in high school, and I mean rah-rah, like super supportive, like over the top, complimentary. And then you go see Peter, and I don't think he had a bone in his body other than competitive crazy is what I would call him. Now knowing better almost. But when playing for him, I really couldn't stand him. I couldn't stand him. I wanted to smoke that offense every day that we played them. All of us did. I know Hilliard, all of us really just on the defensive side of the ball, we never got any love or any, from him.
Right.
And we were good.
Yes, we were very good.
And we were tearing him apart every day, and it wasn't fun. You know what I mean? And I just had a misunderstanding about him as a coach, basically, because he is rough. He is rough as they get.
Well, his skill is as a motivator.
Yeah.
And how he motivated for all the years I worked with him was it's us against them. And he would create these us against them scenarios with the administration. If you remember, he'd point to the clock tower, say, they don't want you here. You're the unwanted guest of the fall. They don't want football in this school.
It doesn't mean anything.
Let's show them.
You're not basketball players. Yeah. You really aren't even good athletes, because if you were, you wouldn't be here. Right. Oh my God, man. It was kind of brutal. But in the same breath, I kind of, honestly, it was the worst way to find out that how I wasn't smart. I call myself, I wasn't smart enough, honestly, to figure it out earlier. I was at my first alumni game 1 year out, and they're up 28-0 at halftime, and he comes off the field, and I'm not going to sugarcoat this anyway. He goes, how the fuck am I going to motivate them the way I need to when they're up 28-0?
Yeah.
They just played a perfect half.
Yep.
And then he goes, I need help. Somebody tell me. What'd you see? Who missed a tackle? Just tell me something. I'm going to go in there and blow up at them. But I just need to know how I'm going to blow. And I'm sitting there myself going, it is that simple. Like, this is just his coaching style.
It was his style. And he was true to his style. He didn't change.
He didn't change.
Which successful coaches, they don't change. They don't, they are who they are.
Yeah.
We played AIC one year at AIC, and we were beating them pretty good at halftime. Like you just said, we were ahead by quite a bit and not a lot of mistakes. He came in at halftime, kicked the garbage can, screamed at everybody. You think that I'd worked with Peter for so long, I knew what he was doing. But I'm looking around the room at the players and seeing how they're reacting, and they bought into it.
Yeah.
They did. And that's the key to successful football, any sport. The players have to buy into what the coach is doing.
It was never-ending relentless.
Yeah.
No, like in the off-season, he'd come by the weight room. That's all you can do?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm a defensive back. What do you want me benching? 290? Like, what do you want? That's not what I'm trying to get here. I'm trying to get faster, if anything.
He was, Mike and I would laugh because, you guys play in the secondary, and I would have you'd roll up like it's press man coverage, but you're going to rotate out of it. It's not, it just looks like press man. It's a pre-snap, read. And he's screaming at me in the headphones, back him up. Back them up. I said, Peter, relax. Or if you guys are playing off, but we're going to.
So he'd give you the same business type of thing. Was it something? Is that why him and Coach Harrington went at it so much, or was he kind of like, hey, you can see behind the door on what we're doing here to a degree?
We could kind of see. I mean,
you were with him a long time. I know he respected you for
I saw him last Friday.
Yeah,
I know.
I know.
In touch with him.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a part of you that. I know he yelled at everybody.
Yeah, good man, good coach, and Bentley was certainly fortunate to have.
Oh my God,
through the growth years, the former.
Yeah, and I'm not afraid to talk about the whole name in the Peter Yetton field. I'm not here to just talk about that, but that's maybe the whatever reasons why that wasn't coming to be. And for me, who just said I didn't understand him really like him when I was playing, he represents all of us.
Sure.
Though. He represents all of our success. His record is our record.
Yep.
His record is what we all did on the field. He didn't take one snap. He didn't play one snap. He could have called it. He could have done it. But that record is our record collectively as players. So that's why his name is on the board. When you go to the field and it's Peter Yetton Field, that's my coach. That's your coach. Yeah. That's everybody who played for him for all those years. And I mean, what was his win percentage when he was done? 800, 700?
I think it was 780 or something.
Yeah, I mean,
unbelievable.
So many people get to look up, and that's not how many games, Coach. You think he was?
Let's say
for that.
So he was at least 300 games.
Yeah, 300 games. You get 10 a year. You get 30 seasons. You get times that by 50 kids. Yeah. You get 1,500 to 2,000 alumni who are proud of what they accomplished.
Absolutely.
And I'm only saying 50 because that's probably how many played. There was usually 80 kids on each team.
Yeah, well, I think we averaged for quite a while. We the sideline would have around 90.
Yeah.
In that area, we'd try and bring in 100 shirts. And again, but then when you're starting out with 4 coaches, you have to expand the staff to handle the extra responsibilities. And even then, we were very fortunate. We got
Yeah.
lucky. Paul Wessel, if you remember Coach Wessel, and Coach Connors, Bobby Connors.
Yeah,
and
really good Coach Connors,
excellent,
offensive side of the ball.
coach,
Yeah.
And
But the defense was always consistent. It was always you and Harrington running it,
And tough
once in a
guys.
while,
Yeah.
somebody else around. But
Mainsy would come in.
yeah,
And,
yeah. I thought Coach Harrington had a different style. You certainly had a different style. I enjoyed playing for you. I mean, you motivated us. You used Yetton's philosophy toned down. It's a different world playing the defense and secondary than it is as it's a read and react type of world. But I thought you were good in how you handled us, and I thought Coach Harrington was really good with the guys up front.
Excellent.
I think they all bought into him.
Excellent. Yeah.
And that's a tough group. When you get linebackers and defensive linemen, it's tough to get them all marching on the same page, especially at snap, pre-snap, all that fun stuff. And I thought you guys did a great job in regards to that.
I can refresh my memory because it's a long time ago, but when we started out, we were a 5-2 monster defense.
Yeah.
So just a basic 5 linemen,
what we
0
were.
technique nose, 2 tackles, 2 ends,
Yeah.
2 linebackers, and then that third linebacker would be kind of what became a strong safety.
Yeah.
He was the monster back.
Correct.
And Coach Harrington and I were talking, we've outgrown this defense. Offenses started to throw the ball more. So we had to adjust. And we went to Peter and said, hey, Peter, we're going to put in a 4-3. What are you going to do that for? Yeah, because we're having success with the 5-2
of
monster.
course, yeah.
So he was why are you doing that?
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, Coach Harrington and myself had never coached a 4-3, so we had to kind of.
Oh yeah,
kind of
so
go
that's a
on the
learning
fly.
curve.
Yeah,
I mean, you were almost. I mean, I get it that you guys were not used to a different defense, and that's always anything new is hard to run.
Yeah.
You guys would have figured that out in a heartbeat.
And we
though.
did,
Yeah.
but we became.
Was it the right move?
Yeah, well, absolutely, but 100%. Talked to Coach Harrington recently, and some of the players saw Charlie White last week, at the golf tournament. We were talking about those defenses. The hallmark of those defenses was toughness. You guys were tough.
Yeah.
You had to be.
Yeah.
Because I remember we were playing Southern Connecticut, AIC,
Oh,
these
yeah.
great big Lumoxes.
We were never the biggest team.
No. In fact, one guy was saying, hey, where's your little round glasses and your calculator on your belt kind of thing. It was Bentley.
Except for when we played MIT. Then we were the bigger team.
Yeah, they were the
played them a
smartest
couple-
team.
yeah,
That's
they
what
were
Peter
the
used to say.
smartest team,
They're not the toughest, but they're going to be the smartest.
Yeah.
But that flexibility, that toughness, and the intelligence allowed us to kind of play around and Swiss Army knife. defensively.
Yeah. I agree with that. It was back in my day. It was a 52, but it was a 53.
Yeah,
I mean,
we would roll McGuire out to that strong safety-ish kind of.
McGuire was, I know you know, but just to say it out loud, like I'd just have to read him.
Yeah.
Because I could tell when he was going.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't worried about pass at all. He read something, saw something, or just didn't care.
There's probably some of that.
He was good enough to do that. You know
really
what I mean?
was.
And honestly, I saw that even when I was as a freshman, because we played together, that group played together my sophomore, junior year.
Yeah.
We were consistent. That was, I think, why our strength was what it was. And I saw that consistency all throughout when I was there. Even when I left, how you guys would make sure guys were staying together for longer than a couple of snaps,
Right.
which I think allowed us to be able to read each other better and be in situations. But just from my chair, Paul would go whenever he wanted to. You could have a blitz, not have a blitz. I just had to cover his both sides or whatever he was doing.
Which we always said, hey, that's fine. Just don't make a mistake. It better work. Not going to bitch at you about success, but if you fail, then there's going to be a problem.
So
that's kind of when we migrated a little bit away from the read and react to the anticipate and attack. I mean, we knew our opponents pretty well. I mean, let's face it. Most of those teams had one or two weapons. You had to shut them down.
Yeah.
So we were able to help, again, with you guys, understanding that aggressive, tough, and athletic.
Yeah.
Sean Hilliard was one of the best athletes I think
Coach,
we've ever had.
basketball layup lines, he could do a 360 dunk
I know.
in our intramural league.
And what was he, 5'10"?
5'10", maybe. He was an incredible athlete.
Great athlete.
One of the best athletes I've ever played with, ever.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not saying that lightly.
No, I agree.
Even on that team, he was the best athlete on that team. I don't think anybody. I remember. The kid from Minnesota on the the
Tracy
offensive side.
Villette.
Tracy Villette was a
Yeah.
hell of an athlete
Yeah.
too.
He
You
looked
know
the
what
part
I mean?
too,
Oh yeah,
didn't
he
he?
was like, yeah, the perfect. But he was a hell of an athlete as
Sure.
well too. And then,
Well, Jay Simmons.
oh yeah,
Jay Simmons, if you were to say who looks like a college football
Yeah.
player out there, I mean, my God, he was
he was
cut,
Thick.
fast, thick.
like thick enough to run you over too, and good
Yeah.
hands, and yeah, they were
But not a
interesting.
defensive player,
No,
offensive player.
no, yeah, another off. Yeah, we're giving too many flowers over there already to that offensive side of the ball.
I will tell you
I,
quick.
let me say something because
Sure.
you're going to know this better than me. I'm a freshman. I come in. I'm shaking hands. Two things that I'm going to laugh. My quick dumb story is, you know how I ended up playing defense? I had no idea. I thought I was playing offense when I went there. I don't pay attention well in big crowds or whatever. We got done with your initial speech, and they're like, grab your uni and go. Well, there's a pile of blue and there's a pile of gold, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell. Why? Which one am I grabbing? I don't know if I even knew. I just grabbed the blue one. And then I went over, and it's me and Sean Collins at free safety.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think I'm better than him. And I look over, and there's Tracy Villette, Jay Simmons. There's like 40 tight ends and wide receivers. I go, I'm not going over there. I want to play. Like,
Yeah.
when I was in high school, I had a lot of success at, tight end and catching the ball, and it's fun, and the touchdowns. And I'm like, but I also had fun at free safety. I played safety too, and interceptions and pick six and that fun stuff too. I'm like, I'm staying right here. I'm going to compete with this guy.
You made a good choice.
Yeah, I made a great choice. I would have never
Everybody
played.
likes to catch the ball and be a hero.
Yeah. And honestly, back then, Peter didn't. He beat the hell out of you with Greg Navarro and Johnny Chu, and I can remember my guys, but I can remember even afterwards all the guys that came and played. I wanted to ask you about the guys that came before me a little bit, and then then get into your head coaching years. Some of the guys that came before me, my story was when I shook hands with all the coaches that I thought I'm shaking hands with, I was actually shaking hands with Joe Bazzano, captain.
Yeah.
He was a grown man.
Yes.
Tim White.
Whitey,
I see him still. He's still.
looks the part.
I'm just like, he's still got hands that
He's probably one of the bigger kids of the team.
Oh my God! But I'm like,
But he broke both his hands, if you remember.
yes.
Played with two broken hands.
What was it? So those are club guys, right?
Yeah,
So basically, they didn't get the chance. They could have played D2. They could have played anything. Those guys. So
Well, Whitey actually transferred from Northeastern.
correct.
Division I team.
So what were those guys like? If you remember, is it we getting a guest?
Yeah, we had a guest.
Yeah. Come on. Hey, come on. Was it the German Shepherd or was it?
No, it was some very handsome young man with a goatee.
Oh, Griffin, are you here? You can come say hello, Griffin.
He bailed.
Griffin, if you're here, you can come say hello. You can sit in the barber chair. If it's a goatee, it's gonna be my son Griffin at some point in time. But yeah, so no, we it might have been Noah too. But either way, yeah. So I just want to know a little bit more about those teams. I remember Lucy, Kev. Kev was
Lucy.
a fantastic.
Unbelievable.
What was your thoughts on those guys?
I was surprised when I started coaching at Bentley at just how good those club athletes were. I didn't know what to expect, really. And Lucy was about as good a quarterback as you could find. I mean, he was unbelievable.
6'5"?
6'4", 6'5", probably about 215, lefty, gunslinger, calm as a cucumber. Actually broke his sternum in a game and still played.
Yep.
Joe Bananas, stocky, thick, quiet but tough. Whitey, just solid as a rock, big kid.
I remember Paul Aiello. That was
Paul
another
Aluminum
lineman.
Head. That's what Coach Harrington called him.
Yeah.
Aiello was, again, just about anybody you name. I don't know if Chris Jelinas was.
He was
big.
He was huge.
Yeah, he was like 6'6", 320, 30
I
pounds.
got in a scrap on the field with him. He tried to roll block me, and I had to defend myself.
Yeah.
We're in practice. The
I don't-
330-pound lineman trying to roll block me downfield in a practice.
He was a big guy. I don't think we were
Thank God
tougher than he was.
Thank God I was born and raised in Taunton. I'm like, I'm gonna kneel right on your throat right now. Like,
Well, Coach Atline was from Waltham, so all these Waltham guys.
yeah.
Matty Tiano, Frankie Tiano were the two Waltham kids as well.
So did you guys just go around beating everybody up? I mean,
Yeah.
in club football?
Yeah. Basically, we had good success at the club level. In fact, Assumption, we didn't lose to Assumption for 25 years.
Oh, wow.
It was 24 or 25 straight years that we beat Assumption. They hated us.
Yeah.
And you hear it on the tape, because the film would be up in the booth with their coaches, and they're, oh, here we go again. God damn yet. Because we're throwing the ball. We're up by 40, throwing the ball with a minute to go in the game.
Yeah, my worst concussion ever.
Really?
Yeah, I was a punt returner. I was a punt returner. We were up 20, fourth quarter. And just yells, fair catch everything. I run out there. I'm fair catching the balls 20 feet in the air. Kid ran me over.
Remember this.
He ran me over. Yeah.
I remember this.
Yeah, he put his helmet straight through my chest.
Yeah.
Never saw it, never did anything. No one remembers the film yet. And rewind. Why are you walking to the wrong sideline? Rewind. Why are you, back then concussions, they didn't,
Oh, are you kidding me?
Nothing.
No.
I mean, I didn't remember till Monday. You know what I mean? Like when I was finally, and then I was at practice.
Yeah.
We didn't have light practices.
No. You're right. It's sad in
It is
retrospect,
sad.
but yeah, kids would come off, eyes looking different directions, and I'd say, "You all right? Yeah, I like ice cream. Okay, get back out there."
We called it white lights and black lights. White lights is you can't see anything, but you can hear anything. Yeah. Black lights was you can't hear anything, but you
different
can
time.
See. Yeah, it's crazy how that works.
But he in fact, quick. And again, I'll just kind of tell a lot of different stories as they come into my mind. But we're playing Assumption, a very similar deal. We punted to them. We were up. I think it was late in the third quarter at their field, but it wasn't at their field because they had a soccer game. So we couldn't play on the football field. We had to have a separate, on the baseball field, they lined it for football and put some goal. So Peter was already pissed, because we had to play him at 10 in the morning because the soccer game was at 1 o'clock.
No, it's not a good day.
No, it was not a good day. So we punted to them. We're up, again, I want to say 40 zip or something like that. Kid fair caught the ball, and we railed him. It might have been in retribution for something that happened to you. But we railed the kid hard. Flag, 15 yards. March it off. Peter's yapping at the referee. I mean, giving it to him big time. Referee throws a flag up.
Another 15.
Another 15 yards. Now they move from the 20 to the 50.
5 or whatever.
To the 50.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they're going the other way.
They're going the other way.
Yeah.
Down there at the 50-yard line.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. So they're coming out, things getting settled down, and Peter said something to one of the referees about Viagra and eyesight and Chinese food. I don't know.
Wait, what?
Yeah. I don't know exactly what it was, but all I know is the flag went up again.
Perfect. Hold on. Perfect, Darius. Darius is come on. You get some shine on that one. That was perfect. Because we've been talking. I'm going to interrupt for a second. We've been talking about him getting more involved, and
that was a good one.
that was good.
That was good.
Right over the top, right there. Perfect.
So be ready on the button. They moved the ball from the 50 to the 35.
Yeah.
Right.
You just basically
so now
45
they've gone from the 20 to the 35.
Yeah.
Everybody's. I'm standing. My job most of the time was to stand next to Peter. And, so everything's calmed down. They're under center, and Peter turns to the referee. I'll never forget this. He goes, I don't think you got the balls to throw another one. World record height on the flag, by the way. And so they moved the ball. He should have been kicked out of the game by rule.
Of course, yeah.
But they didn't. They moved the ball from the 20 to the 20 without taking a snap. Yeah. And I don't know if that's ever happened.
That's great. That doesn't surprise me. He knew though. He knew the score. He knew everything.
He knew what he was doing.
He knew everything. And he was going to let everyone else be blamed for his action at practice on Monday.
Assumption certainly didn't appreciate it.
Yeah.
You can hear it on the film. So anyway, that we had a reputation.
Yeah, we did. We definitely did.
And that suited us. We weren't the nice boys.
Yeah.
We're the tough guys. You want to come play us? We'll show you how to play football.
Yeah, we actually liked what we did, so it was important to us.
So the club guys did lay that groundwork to go back to your point.
So then my group, Sean Hilliard, all them.
Yeah.
My senior was kind of a little bit of a shit show. We weren't that good, and you guys decided to do Paul Pusatier and these guys as captains, and then you guys rocked it that next year. What were we 10-1?
Yeah, that year, your senior year.
My senior
I think
was
we're 5-4.
We were 6-3, 5, something around
like
5, which it was not.
It was an aberration.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going?
Griffin, I want you to say hello. Welcome
going?
yourself.
Nice to meet you.
Thom
Nice to
Boerman.
meet you.
This is my third son.
Popping in, I heard you guys had to pick
Yeah, you can throw on some headphones to
Thought
see
I'd
how we're
listen
doing.
in.
We got some more guests over here as well too with Coco Bean and
Sure.
in the
What's
rain.
going on, everybody?
What's happening, Griff? Thanks for stopping in.
Yeah.
See, that's why that chair's over
I
there.
like
in case
that
we
chair,
get
by
that.
the way.
Yeah.
That's a sweet
Yeah,
chair.
get a little barber chair action
Yeah,
up in there.
nice.
So, yeah, Darius trying to figure out how to adjust that camera now. Huh?
Right.
How's it going? Go ahead, take your second and do it.
No, it's cool. It's
You
cool
got it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. So basically, that what happened that next year? I mean, I didn't even. I was so far removed from it. That's when. So Leger was quarterback when I left, and Michalowski ended up with that next season, right?
Yeah. And then
They start chucking the ball.
we did. Pete wanted to throw the ball. He always wanted to throw the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, we had good running backs, but he was more of a pass-oriented guy. And Rob,
He could do it.
He could.
Tim was built just like Peter. They were clones.
well, yeah.
No, honestly,
Tim had
they
a-
were clones.
It's like he had a chip on his shoulder.
He
too.
does.
He was
his
always
whole
pissed
life.
about something.
And he was such a better slot receiver than he was a quarterback. So I was happy to hear that had happened when I had left. I'm like, that makes total sense.
Michalowski did a good job.
Rob
for us.
did a real good year.
And then that following year, 91 or 92.
So now you're in that's 92 season.
92 season. The following year, we went Division II.
Yes. 93 season, 94 season, in and around that
I want
time.
to say it was 92 or 93 because that team, Mike Rimshaw was a quarterback.
Yeah.
transferred from
This is
Colgate.
so I wanted to hear more about him because I didn't get to see much of him.
The kid was unbelievable. He went to Newburyport High School.
So hey, we're on the defensive side of the ball. They're not even all of our friends. The top 5 list is shaping up for you for quarterbacks because you've seen them
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
I'm going to
yeah.
let it
I've
shape
seen
up
them
in your
all.
head. We're going to
Yeah.
talk a little bit more, but that question's coming, so you can think
Rim
about
was
it.
legit. He went to Colgate for a year, played for Mike Foley, who I know very well, as the head coach at Colgate at the time, and transferred to Bentley, and did not lose a game. We lost a playoff game against Cortland State, Division III playoff game, ECAC playoff game, but regular season we won 38 straight games.
Holy.
Regular season. Yeah, that's
That
not
one,
loud enough.
that scared me. That was a good one, D.
Yeah.
I like that.
38 straight games. In
Wow.
fact, this year they're celebrating the 95 team.
They should, man.
They are.
They
They're
should.
having just 30th.
Explain to me
anniversary.
this kid. Is he just quick and quick release? Like, honestly, I can't even remember.
it's
I
not
think I
like
saw a couple of
It's
games.
not like he was athletically,
Yeah.
that impressive, but he was smart. He was athletic. He just knew how to get the ball downfield. And the kids rallied around him. He was a leader, just a natural born leader. And when he came in, we just started to roll and
Really?
did not lose. Like I said, the Cortland State game, even that was a kind of an aberration. It was rained like hell. It was muddy. The field was just filled with mud. Dennis Byrne, I don't know if you remember Dennis
God,
Byrne.
yeah, I love Dennis.
Yeah,
Byrne.
he had because he's small, scat back, so he
Yeah.
had a pretty good day running, but we just couldn't. Cortland State was big. You talk about juicing. I'm
Yeah.
going
Oh,
to
yeah.
suggest that they might have been
Yeah.
doing something, but they did beat us in the playoffs. But other than that, that team didn't lose a football game until
crazy.
now. Here's 2 great stories. All right,
Yeah.
94, we're playing Stonehill, and at home. You know the rivalry with Stonehill was always there.
I was going to interrupt you only for that second. I'm glad you said it.
Yeah, we-
Because that's the rivalry for
It
us.
was. It really, and for the longest time too.
There was fights when I was there on the field, bench clearing brawl when I
Yep.
was on the field.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And so we're playing them, and at halftime of the game, it was at Bentley, and it was a huge crowd, big crowd. But a lot of the Stonehill people were in that back parking lot, going into the gym. How we remember used to walk back to the
Yep.
back gate into the back of the gym. So many people. I mean, the team is actually walking through a little path.
Yep.
And I was walking, and a kid leaned over and started pouring beer in my head.
Oh,
Rob Cody
not smart.
was our center.
That's just not smart.
No, it was well,
It's a bunch of
I don't
football
think,
dudes.
I think most of the beer he had was in him at
Yeah,
that point,
yeah.
but he did decide to pour one on me. Rob Cody hit him like a freight train, just leveled him.
That's
Campus police. So we finally get back into the locker room. Now half of our halftime is eaten up with this bullshit.
what was that kid's name again?
Rob Cody.
I like you, Robin. I don't know you.
Yeah, Rob owns a wine distributorship down in New Haven or someplace.
Darius, we're gonna get that name and we're gonna plug the baloney out of that
Yeah,
on our.
he leveled this kid. But so anyway, we get back on the field. We're trailing. I think there was about a minute left in the game. We had one timeout, We stopped them at about their 30-yard line, somewhere at the 40-yard line. Call timeout. John Pappas, Coach Pappas, special teams guy. We get everybody together, and we said, we have got to block this punt. If they get this punt downfield, we don't have enough time. It'd be a miracle to move the ball, 80 yards. Scott Ryland, who was a cornerback for us, I think he was a freshman at the time too, I'm not sure, blocked the punt. And there's a great shot of him laid out like Superman. I mean, and he got his fingers on the ball, blocked the punt. We got the ball like in the 38-yard line.
Yeah.
Rimshaw hustles out. We handed off. We ran ball maybe to the 16-yard line. Now we had used our timeout and clock's ticking. Everybody's freaking out. We're trailing for the first time in 3.5 years. Rimshaw got the snap, turned, and their defensive tackle got right straight to him, grabbed him by the arm, and spun him around in a circle. Thought he was going down. As he's falling, he just heaves the ball to the end zone. And Brandon Height, our fullback, who I saw last Friday, and I asked, I said, Brandon, that's still the biggest play in the history of the program. I said, what made you run to the corner of the end zone? Because that wasn't,
it wasn't the play.
I don't know. I just ran down the field. He had no answer.
The greatest plans, Griffin, are the ones not known.
This was not in the playbook.
Fully improvised.
Rimshaw just heaved the ball. Brandon caught it in the end zone. And touchdown, we win.
I love it.
Stonehill people, they just fell to the ground.
Yeah.
They collapsed.
Yeah. That's the love of sports.
Oh, that was a good one.
Do you know that's to digress? That's why I want to do this.
Oh yeah.
There's so many beautiful stories out there for people, you know what I mean? And not only the ones that I can enjoy personally, even though I'm not on the field, I'm a Bentley guy, but I don't care who comes in here. That's why I want to have guys like yourself in here to remember and to let it be known again for those who haven't seen it. That's right, all you Stonehill guys, because I'm friends with a Stonehill baseball coach. I hope to have him in here, and I want to hear their stories, and you know what I mean.
Because in their program, fun. For the longest time, they had. I got to move forward a little bit. The following year,
yeah,
I told you 38 regular season, because we had lost our first game in '92, I think it was. So we're 9-0. Stonehill's 9-0. Last game of the season.
Oh, love it.
It's at Bentley.
Again?
I don't know how it worked out, but we were at Bentley. And back and forth. We're trailing again. Fourth quarter, late in the game. And I mean late in the game. I don't remember exactly, maybe a minute and a half. Got the ball like in the 19-yard line. We had a pretty good kicker. And we're down 3. And I'm screaming in the headsets to Peter, kick the field goal. No, we got time for one more. Colin Arsenault was a receiver at the time. And
is there overtime?
No, that's a good question. I don't know.
It's the only question I would ask, knowing Peter.
Regular season back then?
Might have not been.
Yeah, might have not been.
Yeah. He ain't kicking.
He wasn't kicking. And he wasn't kicking.
That ain't happening.
Rimshaw steps back, fires a ball. Colin Arsenault's in the end zone. Instead of doing this, you're a receiver. He does this.
Pads.
Boom, off the pad, straight up in the air. Stonehill kid intercepted it, fell in the end zone. So they went nuts, obviously. And I'm sitting there. We haven't lost a game in almost 4 years, so we're not quite sure how to process this. Yeah. And I'm standing there thinking, it can't get any worse. It just, this is the worst feeling I've had in ages.
Yeah.
Stonehill kid runs up to me. Fuck you, coach. Fuck you.
Oh, Jesus.
I wanted to bury him.
Honestly, though, that was the rivalry. I mean, it still is if we play each other.
They said that was the biggest win in the program's history.
Yeah.
So, funny segue to that. ECAC playoffs. They're 10-0. We're 9-1. We had to play them the following week in the playoffs.
Oh, good Lord.
At Stonehill.
Okay.
So we go there.
You just lost home field advantage.
Was Michael Vague, was Vague on the team with you?
Younger.
But he was a stocky, rugged defensive tackle. And he had graduated the year before, I think. He's on the sideline with us. And some Stonehill kid was walking around the field with a Bentley helmet on because they had stolen it from the week before. Yeah. So, and Vigor goes, hey, coach, look at this. Kid walked around with 2 of his buddies. He got the helmet on. walking around the far end zone. Remember Stonehill?
I remember
That far
that
end
way
zone?
out. Yeah. Not the new field.
No, the old field. So Viggs is I watch him. He walks over up to the kids, grabs a face mask, and yanks the helmet off the kid's head. 3 of them. And he stands there looking at them. They just kind of...
Doesn't surprise me.
They turn around and walked away.
It doesn't
Viggs
surprise
comes
me.
back, puts the helmet on the...
What's his name again?
Michael Vigue.
Michael. We're gonna have to get the spelling of that after
Yeah.
D. That's a plug for someone.
Legit.
I love it.
So we kick off to them. Andy Quinn, the defensive end for us, another just a tough.
I remember Andy.
Andy was a tough guy.
Yeah.
Tough guy.
I don't remember that other kid then. I know who Andy is.
So Andy's like, defense, we kicked off to them. They're defensive around the field. And Quinn goes, Coach, watch this. Watch what?
That's the type of kid he was too.
So their quarterback took the snap, went to pass, covered, runs out of bounds on the sideline, the Stonehill sideline. I'm not exaggerating. The kid was handing the ball back to the referee when Quinn hit him on the sidelines. It was the latest of late hits.
That doesn't surprise me.
So
Flag.
So then he comes, Peter, he's, get him out.
Yeah.
Quinn come walking out.
I haven't heard that name in a long time. That's
Andy,
funny.
He goes,
So you're still all an assistant coach at this time.
I was
all
an
these-
assistant.
all
I was the
this.
defensive backfield coach.
So what was it like? And no one wants to follow in the footsteps of a
I did not want
of a
to.
legend.
Yeah, I did not want to.
But you were the fortunate or unfortunate soul to do so. I should say fortunate soul because
Oh, I was lucky. I say I didn't want to.
Yeah,
But it was a great job.
I think it's a great thing for you as well too. So what was that like? What was that transition like?
Well, first of all, like you just said,
and what year was it? I'm sorry.
2008 is when Peter retired.
Okay.
So that was my first season. Was the 2009 season. And you don't want to be the guy that follows the guy. You just don't. And here's a legend, and he'd been there 30 years. And I'm like, but we went 8-2. I was fortunate enough to win coach.
This is
of the year.
Division II, right?
Division two. Yep.
Tough. Now, who are the teams you're playing? No, this
Southern
is
Connecticut.
We jumped almost
Oh, yeah.
past 10 years worth of players, which isn't fair either. But in the same breath, a lot's changed, right?
A lot has changed,
and
yeah.
including the programs themselves. Bentley's a different type of program.
Absolutely.
I mean,
the expectations were much different.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. Now we're expected to win.
Yeah,
after all
right.
the record
it's
that we had.
now a job. Like, I'm not saying it wasn't a job before, but now it's a job.
And I had 8 assistants, 4 full-time assistants, and 2 trainers, 2 team doctors, 4.
And that's what
Filmers.
that's what everybody's doing.
Yeah, that's what we had to have.
All the teams you're competing against now. That's
Well,
what I mean is at the next level.
And New Haven
Yeah.
and Bryant.
Yeah.
We're throwing money in their programs, and Southern Connecticut. These are all big body schools. I mean, these are schools that got guys. Even though Bryant's similar to Bentley, they had some. They were giving money.
Yeah.
So
They've done a great job bumping up their sports program.
Sure have.
Great job.
yeah.
Yep.
So that's the schedule we were playing as well.
Yep.
And but we had some really good players. We really did. I mean, we were able to recruit guys that could compete at that level. We started to nationally recruit instead of just going regionally to the New England region.
Yep.
We're getting kids out of Arizona, Southern California, Texas, Florida, and they helped big time.
Yep.
It's funny.
All film? You going to watch games? Both?
Yeah, it's just, well, you get a phone call. Hey, you should look at this kid.
Yeah.
Phoenix, Arizona, Brophy Prep. Brophy is a big Catholic boys' school, huge.
Yep.
They don't have private schools out west or down south. They have them up here in the Northeast.
Yep.
Not a lot of private high schools out there, but this is a big private boys' high school, big in Phoenix. So I flew down there, met the head coach, Scooter Molander, introduced myself. He said, "Yeah, I may have some players for you." So, and he did. We signed 4 kids out of that school.
Nice.
And then we had
It's amazing how there's like that. I know there's in Ohio, there's certain schools that are,
well, you make relationships.
yeah, that's what it comes down to, right? No
Yeah.
different than Belichick with the Rutgers or,
Yeah.
if you trust somebody and Belichick and Saban, if you trust somebody and they're telling you this kid motor never stops, this kid's, forget film, this is the kid you want, then, that's, you got to go with that.
It goes the other way too, Derek. Sometimes you go into a school. I went to north of San Diego.
North of San Diego.
Yeah, big golf course.
Pebble Beach?
No.
North of San Diego.
You out in Tahoe, San Diego, right?
No.
San Diego's
North of
south.
San Diego. Oh, it begins with a T.
Oh yeah, it's south. I'm thinking
It
San
begins with a T.
Francisco.
TBC. I don't even know.
Oh my
which
God,
one's
why
out
am I
there.
spacing on it?
Don't worry about
U.S.
that.
Open was held there.
Oh, cool.
So I go to the school.
Darius, give a quick Google on that. Close,
It begins with a
PGA.
T. If I said it, you go, oh shit.
You
hell
got
yeah.
you got the computer too if you need it
Look,
to
he's
do
on
it. So
his
Look it
yeah,
up.
phone.
don't worry. They'll let them look it up.
So I go to the school because I had gotten a phone call from a kid. He went to that school, and I said, well, I'm going to be in San Diego, recruiting a few kids down in the San Diego area. So I went up there. The coach was big time in me. Now, they were a powerful, powerful high school program. All along the coach's office was trophies and awards and all this. And the way that they allowed you to recruit there was you had to come at noon. You could only recruit from noon to 1. You couldn't get kids out of class. You couldn't, So I'm in the room with UCLA, Colorado, Arizona State,
Nice.
all these big D1
Good.
programs.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, and the coach goes, the players come in. Now, I don't know the kid that I knew his name.
Right.
And I
You haven't met him before.
haven't met him. The coach, okay, we're going to introduce ourselves, by alphabetical order. So colleges, coaches, we'll start with Army, even though it's a U.S. military academy.
Right.
Start with Army, so the Army guys have. Bentley. So I stand up and I go, I know that probably most of you have not heard of Bentley University. And the kid, coach, I'm here to see you. So, but their head coach, he was like big time in me. What are you doing
He thinks
here?
he's so big time.
Yeah. And
Good Lord.
let's put it justifiably so.
If UCLA and Army and everybody else is in the room, maybe he's got a little bit of, but not
The
much.
kid wound up going to Villanova, isn't it?
Yeah.
Side. But we did have good recruiting luck down there in San Diego. We got Jesse Campanero. If you watch late night TV, they have a commercial for Total Gym.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen
Yeah,
Total.
yeah.
Well, he owns that company. His dad owns
Oh,
it.
nice.
So he came, and here's a kid from California.
See this, Griffin? Every kid that he mentions that's one of the tough kids that came out of Bentley,
Tough.
owns something,
Oh, yeah.
runs something,
Yeah.
or is something. Because as much as football was first, you're still getting a heck of an education there. And
That's why you go
and
there.
and honestly, it was a unique environment. Before everybody was talking about entrepreneurs, that was a school that was already doing it. I seen so many kids start businesses, or it was just inbred in you. Some of the
It's
classes
still to
that
this day.
classes that we had though back then, and this is digressing out of football, but it's good for Bentley. I remember being in like some of these classes that we had to do business policy. You had to basically start a company.
Yeah.
And then before the internet, Griffin, I'm in a stock market class, and you're basically sitting there watching a ticker, like
That makes
radio,
sense.
listening to a radio. Like it was crazy what we were doing.
They built stock trading rooms. there.
Yes. Now they have full live stock
yeah.
trading rooms there. So, but it was always there. It doesn't surprise me that the kids that are toughest kids are just like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Like,
And this kid was, Jesse was a California kid. He's a snowboarder. He would snowboard professionally, semi-professionally. Go to Europe and snowboard for LibTech, which is a snowboard manufacturer. He comes to practice one day. He intercepts a ball, runs to the end zone, does a backflip. I said, Jesse, Coach, that's what I do. I do backflips.
Peter, were you the head coach?
No, I was
Oh,
a
God,
defensive
Peter
backflip
must have
coach.
loved
He was
that
a safety for us.
Yeah.
But we started to get kids like that, and we had to compete, because as much as you regional guys, there's just so many opportunities.
Hey, I went back
for
and
you.
saw a game last year, 2 years ago. They're mooses out there.
Bigger, stronger,
like
faster.
everything else, the debate. There's three guys on the wall over there. Is Michael better than LeBron? Is LeBron?
Yeah.
LeBron has way better nutrition people on his team, knows how to eat healthier. He's a giant. And it's Michael. And I'm not having this conversation, or you will shut his mic off.
He just admitted that, right?
It's Michael that's better.
I
It's
just
Michael.
couldn't say it.
Good
He had
Lord.
to confess it himself right
Yes.
there.
But I'm just saying though, like every generation just gets bigger, stronger, faster. They get better nutrition, better people talking to them, better access with this phone to figure out what you need to do, what workouts you need to have, with or without a trainer. And all of them have trainers. And there's places now that train high school kids to get ready for the next level. And oh God, it's nuts what I see. And I see that in basketball with what I'm doing. It's nuts.
And the AAU
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
but the
seeing-
kids though, like the kids that I know that are going to play at the next level they're in the weight room,
Yes.
they're stretching, they're eating right. They don't care. They don't drink. They don't, hey, when I played football Friday night was fun. Football game and a party. Woohoo.
Yeah,
What gets
yeah,
better than that? You know what I mean? Like, and we were out drinking afterwards, and a lot of these kids
I know.
don't. They don't. They just don't do it that way anymore.
I'll tell you a story about your dad.
No.
Not about your dad's. I'm not going to do it, but they would come to practice hungover,
Yeah.
vomit in their hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yet, when the bell rang,
Oh, yeah.
and
Because Coach Yetton, he knew we all went out Friday night.
Oh, yeah.
So guess what was the surprise? Somehow the captains got out to everybody that there was a practice on Saturday morning.
Yep.
And literally the kids that he's talking about, throw up in there, you just basically grabbed them and said, "You're coming."
Yep.
And that's just get up. Like, you don't have a choice. You don't want Yetton on
But
your
you can't
ass
do
or
that
you
now,
on your ass.
To your
No,
point,
no,
those days are over.
They're
those,
over.
Those kids that CJ Scarpa, the young man with the head coach, I said he's doing a great job there.
That's the new coach, right?
CJ Scarpa, yeah,
Nice.
he's a young guy.
Yeah. Great. I think
played-
that's wonderful.
Yeah, it is. It's good for the program. He's also bringing some Bentley continuity. He's got Adam Greggs, who played at Bentley. I recruited him out of
Wait a minute. Who's the one on the lineman coach? Al?
Adam Greggs. Al Licitano.
Al Licitano.
He was.
Wasn't he there
But
too?
he's not back this year.
Okay.
So there's.
I think that's great. I think he should.
He should, and he
Right.
understands that.
Right.
But I do at the golf tournament last week. I was talking to a lot of ex-players. About 100 ex-players were at that golf tournament. It was great. Today's players bigger, stronger, faster,
This is.
but not tougher.
No.
Not tougher.
No.
And we won our games with toughness.
That's the difference between those two gentlemen on the wall over there.
That's his only argument
That's-
against LeBron.
No, I've been sending you stats all week, and I know you got them. So yeah, but no, you're right. I'm not. You know what though? It's not. The game was tougher. The game was tougher. You can go across the middle, and that ball's in the air.
Yep.
You could take somebody out, and it was a lot more fun dishing it than receiving it. But when you still dished it, it's still, you could get your bell rung. You could get just didn't catch him the right way or hit him the right way, and you were hurt too. So I just know the way the game is now. I often laugh like, oh my God, Patrick Mahomes gets pushed, and it's like the world is on fire. I mean, good Lord, even the NFL back then, Ronnie Lott coming across the middle and killing people for a living. You know what I mean? Like
Breaking his finger so bad he had it cut off.
yes, and that because he didn't want to leave the game. Griffin. He cut his finger off
the 49ers.
on the sideline
Broke
so
his finger so
he
bad
could
he
go
had-
back in.
He had it amputated.
No, amputated at the game. Like, he didn't go to the
Savage.
hospital, have it amputated and play. Like, yeah,
You know, it's
he was something stupid like that. I think that's right with that story, but
Well, I know he had it
thank you.
amputated. I don't know if he was
yeah,
doing the game or
was
not, but
it?
it's-
Yeah, maybe he broke it, wrapped it, and then they said you're out for so long, and he said amputated so he can keep playing. I think that might be more of the story than anything, but
the
you can
point being
fact check me
that
on
was-
that.
The game was tougher, and we expected you guys. When I retired from Bentley, I eventually wound up coaching high school ball again for a few years, and coaching those kids. They're taught in Pop Warner. They don't tackle by getting on the same railroad tracks as the runner. They're off to the side, and they're kind of getting.
Well, they roll donuts now
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I was the Rainham Giants president and I coached all these years, and these kids have a right to say that they're tougher than the kids now because we used to line up and do Oklahomas,
Yep.
and
No one does Oklahoma.
no one does any. But these guys did Oklahomas. Like when Griffin was going through his youth football, we certainly did.
Not anymore.
And I coached with like Mike Gallagher, who played at UNH. His two sons ended up playing at Northwestern. Another son of his played at UNH as an alumni with him. Right? There was no let's have a good time at practice. Now I literally go watch some of the practices and they're rolling a big donut and they tackle the
That's
donut
crazy.
through the hoop.
through the hoop and how you put your head in.
That's crazy.
I get it, you know what I mean. But imagine them seeing Devontae Graves.
No.
Come, one of the kids that we played with, he just was
Animal. He's savage.
he was savage.
Yeah.
And
So he's a football player.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you would have loved him.
He's a cop now.
You would have loved
Yeah,
him.
he did.
Yeah, Boston cop now. But again,
I used to tell these kids on the high school team, I say, hey, look, guys, there are football players and guys who play football. Yeah. Which one are you? And I could tell first day of practice who the football players are. And I had this little thing Tic Tacs. I wrote tough pills on it. And a kid would he'd do something weak. I'd say, come here. I'd give him this tough pill. And I'd say, you need to become a football player.
Griffin, he was a nice coach when we were there most of the time. I don't mean nice like,
No,
he patted you on the back.
Holler, yeah.
No, Peter hollered. Like,
Peter was He had the stories.
Yeah.
At the end of practice, these poor guys, we just beat the shit out of them for 2 hours. Now they got to take a knee and listen to Peter tell story after story.
Yeah,
after
he was
story.
a story.
Whether the weather
Honestly,
was
some of
snowing or
those
raining.
stories were
They're
great,
pretty
though.
good.
Yeah,
They're pretty good.
And listen, to his credit, what did he play? Football and hockey and baseball,
He's a
at
captain of
BU?
all 3 sports.
At BU.
Yeah.
He
National
was the
hockey
captain
team. Yeah.
of the football, hockey, and baseball programs at Boston University.
National championship hockey team.
Yeah.
Then he got kicked off the football team
Yeah.
because he punched a coach.
Yeah, because he's nuts. Yeah. All that's true. This is who I play for. His favorite
They don't
word.
build
His
them like they
favorite.
used to.
He would find something that got you. He could find something that got you. He's gonna figure out. It could be your girlfriend. It could be anything. Everything was game for him to figure out how to.
But his
piss you off to
personality-
motivate. Because it was to piss you off to motivate you. Is what he was
And it
doing.
worked.
And it was
His
It
personality
was football. It
rolled
wasn't
down to
wasn't
you guys.
roll. It wasn't roller skating.
No.
It was football.
We had bench clearing brawls 4 years in a row.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And the AD
And you
came
know
to
what
us.
he did at film? Literally at film. This is the worst thing I think. Like, I'm at film. I just was in like the heat of throwing with this kid on the side, and I'm going around now because he went this way, like through a cheap shot or something. I'm going around to get him, and he stops the film. And this is when it's video, rewind, back, forth.
16
You
millimeter
don't.
film, yeah.
He's like, and look at Perry running away from the fight. I'm like, what the? I literally, and you can't say nothing because if you say something, he's gonna come over at you 100 times worse.
Yep.
And I'm thinking to myself, I want to just get up and just wreck him right now. Right? Like, I am literally like the last person, as you might know, to run from. I'm going to find a kid, and I'm thinking in my head, why it does look like I'm running from right now. I'm so mad. He's like got me right now, and he used it against me for like it was a Stonehill game, so I know it was the last game, but it was into that weight room session when he would come down, he'd say something, or I'm like, oh my God.
Not too many head coaches, if the team comes off the sideline to fight, not too many head coaches start throwing hands.
Yeah.
But he was.
He
He's in there fighting. He's fighting.
and honestly, we loved him for that, though.
Yeah.
He
The respect for him is real.
yeah, it was definitely real. And honestly, that's like, I know that for and including yourself, I know this, that he deserves the respect he gets from us. And I was definitely at my peak performance as best as I could be at that. Now, mind you, I was still drinking or whatever, my peak performance for today. But back then it was serious to us.
Yeah.
We were serious in the weight room. We were serious in the off season. We were serious to be together. We were the same intramural basketball team. We were the same, all the football players, we were our own fraternity. We didn't join a fraternity.
No.
That wasn't
allowed.
That was our group. Yeah.
No fraternities.
Yeah. So
And it worked. We again, for Bentley, you guys know Bentley is for what a business school, primarily a business school. And yet we were in the national conversation for quite a while. I mean, we played Grand Valley in the national playoffs. Brian Kelly was the head coach. They were the 3-time defending national champ.
Wow.
Brian Kelly, who went to Notre Dame, was
Oh,
the
I
head coach
know
at
him very
LSU.
well. Yeah.
He played at Assumption when we beat the shit out of him. But we played them in the national playoffs, and they had to come to Bentley because we were 10-0, they were 9-1, and they had 4 guys that went in the pros off that team that year, and they beat us 63-35. Mark Addy, who's tremendous quarterback, quarterback. First play of the game, throws an interception, pick 6. Next, they kick off to us, 3 and out. We punt. They return the punt. For a touchdown.
14-0.
So it's already hurt.
Already in the bag.
But after the game, a reporter in the media room had said, "Hey, Coach Kelly, he's from Somerville." He said, "Well, you got to come home, but was it really worth it to have to come all this way to play
This
Bentley, this team?" Because let me tell you something. Because I remember playing Bentley. I remember coaching against Bentley. They beat us up pretty good. They don't have scholarships. They don't have they don't have guys come in the summer, so they only have to take 4 classes in the fall. They do things the right way here. And by the way, no one has scored 35 points on us in 3 years. So I was like, as much as most people don't like Coach Kelly,
Bunch of flowers there,
yeah,
which is
he
deservedly
really.
so.
I was impressed. But that was, again, that's kind of what kept our program in somewhat of a good profile.
So I always remember that you were involved with computers.
Yeah.
Is that true? Like you
Yeah,
did
yeah.
something, like I remember for me back then.
Yeah, it's a weird story.
So how did you help the team and everything technology wise, like all throughout the years?
So my path to coaching at Bentley was kind of unusual. I actually, when I got out of college, I went in the Navy. And while I was in the Navy, I went on recruiting duty and played semi-pro football with the Navy's permission. They said, "Oh, our recruiter can go." So
you're in the Navy.
I was in the Navy, played semi-pro
You're a
football.
recruiter.
Yeah,
Playing semi-pro football.
yeah. And
I'm going to back up for a second before you even get this. What high school did you go to?
my high school was Hamilton High School in Michigan.
Okay.
Went to Fair State University. Went in the Navy.
Shame on me for not asking
Played
this
semi-pro
earlier.
football in New York,
Nice.
upstate New York. Got a
What
one,
positions were you playing?
I was an outside linebacker.
Yeah, I figured as much.
And I had a good season, real good season, and got an invite to a one-day free agent tryout camp for the Giants. It was weird. They had 100 guys. I knew, it must have been 100 because my shirt said 94. We just did the
Hello down there. Hello.
yeah. Hey, there's a lot of guys here.
It's kind of like showing up at Bentley for the first day when there's 90 something guys there too.
Except this was, we knew it was a one-day thing.
Yeah.
And I think they kept 1 or 2 guys out of the 100. It wasn't,
Yeah.
we ran a 40 and did a pro shuttle and blah, blah, blah. So that was pretty cool. But I had this bug about football.
Yeah.
So
now back to.
I get out of the Navy and I was hired by a company called Northern Telecom, a telecommunications company in Natick. Went there and I knew the general manager really well. I'd served with him in the Navy and he knew I had this football thing. Well, my position allowed me to be done with the day at 3:00. So I'm in a pub. Don't all stories involve a pub. I'm in a pub in Millbury, and I'm talking to this guy who happened to be the head coach of the Millbury High School team. And we were talking football, and he said, "Hey, I could use some help on the coaching staff." So I said, I get out of work at 3:00. He starts practice at 3:30. I can make this work. So I coached high school football in Millbury for 3 seasons.
Nice.
It really wasn't. We went 1-29. So
Not so nice.
It was a struggle, but had a great time. The kids are great. They had no Pop Warner program, and I recruited my paper boy to actually come out to the team. It was ugly, but I had a great time and good coaches. So then, as one of my jobs was at Bentley, I was in charge of the technology department. So computers, printers, all the television, the cable TV.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
All that stuff. I built the stock trading room. That was my last jobs. Anyway.
Oh, that was one of your last jobs?
That was my last jobs.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a freaking awesome.
It was pretty cool.
Really cool.
So I was hooked into technology. And Bentley at the time when you were there, they were
Way ahead
spending a
of time.
ton of money on
A ton of money.
Right.
My laptop, and I
The
did have a
Vectra-
laptop
the
like
Vectra
my,
laptop, yeah.
it was like a
suitcase.
suitcase. Yeah. Carrying 40 pounds. You know, you wanted to hook up with a girl, just carry that computer up the
for
hill.
her, yeah.
Yeah. You know what
Which
I mean?
everything's up the hill,
And
by
I
the
would
way.
carry your mother's up the hill, like 2 suitcases, 20 pounds at least. They were 20 pounds at least.
They were,
Oh, God.
They were suitcases.
They were suitcases. Like the battery that lasted like 1 hour is this big, Griffin. You know what I'm saying? It was
so
awful.
true.
It was
Battery.
awful.
By the way, I remember your mom. I met your mom back in the day.
Yeah.
So that was my responsibility. But when I took the job at Bentley, I talked to the vice president, Paul Ployd, and I said, look, they offered me the job. I said, okay, but I want to coach football. I don't want to give up coaching football. So he said, well, we'll call the AD and see what we can do. So he calls Al Shields, the AD at the time. And he said, we want to hire this guy, but he wants to coach. You know, we're going to adjust his hours so that he can coach. And Al Shields goes, well, I'll talk to Coach Yetton. Yetton was totally against it. Totally. I don't want this guy. Who is this guy? I don't give a shit if he's,
Of course,
So,
you're
and
not
Coach
part of
Harrington-
his. You're not
Coach
part.
Harrington- no.
Yeah, but you're not part of their crew.
No, I was not.
Yeah.
At the time, they had 4 coaches, Coach Harrington, Coach Damasio, Coach Yetton, and Coach Joe Papagni. Excuse me, Joe Papagni was the defensive backs coach. So they relented. I came down on my first year as a volunteer. They didn't pay me, and I was going to be the linebackers coach because I played linebacker. Coach Papagni had a very sick child, leukemia or something, young baby, 10 months old, so he couldn't coach. So I took over
The defensive backs,
and did that because practice, as you know, started at like 4 o'clock, 4 to 6.
Yeah.
So it worked for me the whole time I was working in the technology department to coach. I did that for maybe 10 years, 12 years. And then they wanted to have a full-time presence there. We had to. Peter couldn't do it. He was a teacher at Waltham nearing retirement. Coach Harrington was a teacher nearing retirement. Coach Tomasio was a teacher nearing retirement.
Wow.
Bobby Connors, teacher nearing retirement. So I became the ops guy, the full-time football presence as an ops guy.
So director of operations.
Yeah, director of football operations. And then when Peter retired, I just moved into the head job. So it's kind of an unusual road to become a coach.
They all are, aren't they?
worked.
Especially when you go from club to 3 to 2 to where you are now. Like they're still 2, but where they are now is a lot further along than 90s football and even 2000s football these days.
It's unbelievable when I look back.
It's fun to watch, man. That beautiful campus. I mean, when we played, it was DeVincent's Farm.
Yeah.
Right now, DeVincent's Farm's all the baseball fields and more
Hockey
housing
rink
and a hockey rink, and you know, they've just done a great job at Bentley keeping
really
it up. The tuition's going to be the tuition, you know what I mean. But in the same breath, I just had my niece and nephew graduate from there. My nephew just graduated this past year, and you know what? The jobs are there. You know what I mean?
Amen. That's why you go.
Yeah,
like
you do.
said.
You do. I mean, I did go into the family business, but I went to Fidelity interviews, Schwab interviews, had offers, you know what I mean, and just decided to go to. I don't know if it was the right path, but I did take, you know.
I would say that you.
No, I'm fine with my life, but trust me, there's a lot of money if you went through the stock market rides for the last 30 years too. A ton of that.
Again, just having gone to the golf tournament and seen so many alumni.
Oh God,
guys.
though, like Remington,
Tony,
Delmonico, he's got his own company as well too, doing his thing. McCarthy's got his own thing, doing his own thing. Like all these guys are.
Did you play with Stan Martinez? Stan.
I know the name.
So Stan just sold 44 Planet Fitnesses.
Yeah. Yeah. Tony Remington, he's doing great too. He was instrumental for testing through COVID. That's what his company does.
He said COVID saved his ass, is what he said.
God.
Yeah, like and Griffin, like his company is up in the Bengals Stadium. He's big. He's a sponsor. He's friends with Joe Burrow. So there's a lot of guys that come out of Bentley, like you said, tough guys. You know what I mean? Oh, and tough enough to be able to say like they're giving shit about Yetton's name being up on the field or whoever was. I don't even know the story, but all of us together were saying no.
It wasn't right. It's
not right. Every single one of these guys knows when to say right or wrong.
But they're very successful. And again, some of them are cops and firefighters and carpenters. It's not that money doesn't necessarily, define you as a success, but almost everybody that I've met I've coached over 1,000 guys, has been their family man, that life is good. We had some suicides, as you know.
I was going to say that's, I got a picture over here. I'll show you after. Rich Callahan, good friend. Yeah. He committed suicide back in the day. Yeah. You know what, if anybody is suffering from any of that, no joke aside, find help, talk to somebody, talk to anybody. Sully was another one back then.
That the impact of that.
2 guys on our team, Griffin, back then. So it was a huge impact to us, and it did teach me a lesson for my life. You know what I mean? Like
frankly,
I ask how I call. I'm in touch with Hilger all the time. How you doing? What's up? Just.
Timmy's still out in Colorado?
Yeah, he is.
Good for him.
Men's health is underestimated. Let's put it that way. You know what I mean? So it's okay to say, hey, what's up? You know what I mean? And how you doing?
I saw Timmy Teslas last week.
Did you?
Yeah, he was at the golf tournament.
Nice.
He said Sean couldn't make it.
I'm coming next year.
You got
coming next year.
You've got the golf plug too, and you didn't even go to that one. What's going on?
It was a conflict on that one for me.
It happens. They filled it up.
Yeah,
They sold every 144 positions.
So we're going to wrap up a little bit. I told you I like to keep these things from going way too far.
I could talk for 5 hours.
And honestly, I think I'm going to have you back. I want to do a part 2, but Greg Navarro.
Greg, I'll never forget Greg. First of all, I was a punting coach as well.
Just so those who don't know, Greg Navarro, extremely talented running back when I was there.
Transferred from BU.
Transferred from BU.
Yeah.
Just an absolute stud. There's
All
no
American.
other way to
All
American
American,
and everything. Just recently passed away.
Yes.
What's your thoughts on Greg?
You know, again, I remember when Greg came on, the nicest kid, real rugged running back. His style of running was to like run at you as much as he could. But Greg, my fondest memories, again, I was the punting coach and he was the punter. And we would sit over there and we would have contests.
Because you could boom a ball.
I could punt.
Yes, you could.
So I would say, hey, smartass, hang time contest. Okay, coach, for what? So, a sarsaparilla.
And it was my fun job to be on the other end.
Yeah, to catch it. Yeah,
not fun.
So, but we would do that every practice.
Yeah,
We'd have those punting practices.
I was
and
with
so
you.
we would talk. Yeah, it was great. Yeah. He's just the nicest
Me, Hilliard,
kid.
Hilgert. That was the three returners, And they were too valuable to lose, so I was usually the guy.
No, Derek, you were.
got drilled.
Those two guys we couldn't lose, honestly. I have no problem saying that.
Like, don't let him be humble. He was
Griffin, I was an academic All-American 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Those were just All-Americans. They didn't have the academic in front of them. I know I was the smartest one of them.
No, that
four.
defensive backfield you were on that you started for was very, very good.
Well,
you give up 4.5 or 5 points a game for a season.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. And he was in charge back there. Our free safeties had to make a lot of calls. And Hilgert was like a solid kid. He didn't look like your prototypical corner, by the way. He had a little bit frame on him.
Stocky.
Hilgert was tough, but Hilliard was. I know you want to close up one quick story about Sean Hilliard.
No, I'm not. Listen, this is our dime. So.
Well, I just because I won't remember these the next time we talk. Hilliard was extremely athletic. He was going to go to UNH.
Yep.
They pulled his scholarship at the last second.
He was pissed.
Yeah, he was pissed.
He should be.
Absolutely. But it's our good
shame
fortune.
on them.
He came.
Yeah.
So
he would have been the best athlete up there, too.
Yeah, no, I was stunned at how good he was. We had a quarterback, Kevin Lucy, who was really, really good. The Saints, the New Orleans Saints.
Yep.
Was it the Saints?
It was the Saints.
They came to one of our practices to check out Lucy. So Peter, the head coach, comes in the huddle, the defensive huddle. He goes, "Hey, look,
I know
you
where
assholes.
this is going. I remember.
The Saints are here to look at Lucy. I don't want, just
don't fucking pick up the
don't,
ball."
yeah,
whatever he said. Excuse my language.
Yeah, everything gets caught. Okay,
it's not my language. It's Yetton's.
Luce drops back, throws a ball. Hilliard intercepts it, runs back. I was like, I knew, they all come back to the huddle, and Yetton comes in. He's like, furious. He's just screaming. I look at Sean. He goes, "Hey, I want to play for the Saints too." That was the best comeback.
Damn right.
Yeah. So it's just a great. And McGuire was just a
nasty.
I saw him.
But he was
Vegas.
6'3",
Big
210,
kid,
15.
Tough mentality.
That's what was almost a 5'3" defense. It really was.
Yeah.
He wasn't a cover guy.
We could roll him down.
He wasn't a cover guy most of the time. Unless you had a big tight end, he wasn't a cover guy. He wasn't blazing speed.
I saw him in Vegas last year. He was he had a job.
Did you see him out there?
Yeah. We went out to dinner and he was big time, and he was.
He's doing good out there too.
Yeah,
right?
he actually was in charge of that whole. If you've been to Vegas,
the new
Fremont Street director.
The old Vegas street they're making back into new off the strip, so to speak.
Was something to do with marketing.
He's in charge of all the marketing for that. I understand.
So it was good seeing him. But again, that's why I'm glad you invited me, because I got a chance to see you guys. And that's what's important to me.
Well, I hope that everybody that's been listening to this, at least there's a little capsule now for Bentley football, and some of that's what I want to do. Like I want people in here that, like I told you, we had to hit rewind when we were watching film back then, so it's not going to be a ton of film up anywhere. So
no,
your brain, your Bentley football forever. You're part of the original crew, so to speak. But I think you were, and we all get our opinions. You were the most. I don't want to say like I'll go. If I had to guess who has the highest IQ, it was you. I'm not being disrespectful to everybody else like that, because nobody was tougher. Peter was tougher. So you don't get to win that one.
No.
But I think when it came to like, I used to enjoy, and you know me, Griffin, I used to enjoy sitting down talking with you about coverages, sitting down talking about who's coming, who should we focus on. And, you know, McGuire might be like this and Hilliard doesn't care. Just put put the best guy and I'll cover him. You know what I mean? Like, but I would be making sure we were all in set. So I would agree that we had the same brain when we were trying to, attack a defense, attack an offense, so to speak.
And that's why you talk about Navarro. He and I would talk about world affairs.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't have to talk football. He liked to talk.
Yeah.
And his death was very, very unfortunate.
The last thing I'll say here is when my senior year was done, you know, what do we end in October, early November, whatever it was. November, it was before we went home on break. You're like, thank God this is over for you too, because me and Timmy are going to get a beer. You're like, you know what I mean? Because we're 21 or whatever it was. That wasn't the issue. It was just, you know, as a coach and a player, that wasn't the relationship we could have. But as soon as that day ended on a tough season, my senior season wasn't the most glamorous one, and I messed up my leg as well too. But I remember you're like, now it's time to go get a beer. Like it was finally that time to be able to, because we had that friendship all that long, and I've always appreciated you.
Well, thank you.
And I mean it as a friend, and first and foremost, I mean it when my list is made. I know who's on the list. You're going to be number one on my all-time favorite coaching list, and I really appreciate that, Thom. So I think there's a lot of people who would say the same, especially about Bentley and how they feel about that environment. And so I thank you for coming in.
One thing.
Yeah.
I'm on the board for the Bentley Gridiron Club, which is the booster club for football. And we just kind of formalized that. And I want to use this platform to get that message out to any of the alumni or anybody that are looking at that. Back in your day, parents used to kind of contribute quite a bit to that. But we're raising money to help CJ. Money is what gets it done these days.
Yeah.
So
how can we find anybody? And Darius, this is going to be a clip, so we're going to want to get this one out there.
There's a website. I think it's Bentley Gridiron Club. There's a website. Go to the website, and there's a way to actually get involved. Like Tony
because everybody thinks that like because Bentley has all this money, you know, the football program gets this money. It's not the way, honestly. And that's why we laugh and say Bentley's a basketball school. The basketball teams get the money.
Yes.
You know, whatever money's really there for athletics, everybody else is kind of scrapped. I don't care if it's a baseball team. It's very limited.
Well, Stan
funding.
just donated $2.5 million to the baseball team. I say, hey, you played football, Stan, right? But his son plays baseball.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I just want to get that plug in to get people to understand.
And we'll clean that up and make sure it's plugged the right way
Terrific.
as well.
Thanks, Derek. Appreciate it.
Much love to you, my friend. Episode 3. Griffin, you got anything you want to say? Oh, I'm sorry. I did.
No, I just will say it's kind of funny. Everyone knows you nowadays as the basketball coach, but I think if you ask my friends and you're the football coach.
Yeah.
So this is pretty cool seeing you with your old coach.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. And not to toot my horn, but I did spend years coaching football. I do love it. I love basketball the most because it's controlled weather climate.
Yeah. It's always nice in the gym, isn't it?
The
longevity game.
And quite honestly, the only thing I like about basketball too is the relationships are really deep.
Yeah.
And when you have fewer kids,
group,
it's a lasting relationship. So, but appreciate you, Thom.
Thank
Love you, my brother.
Appreciate it, buddy.
You got it. And
it's nice meeting you.
And we'll be moving on to episode 4. Actually, episode 4 is going to be the Thom and I baseball coach will be coming in, Blair Bork. Nice. 3 championships under his belt already in 5-6 years. Wow. So it'll be fun to talk to him and swing the bat. Probably of my high school career. I had to quit that one as a sophomore, but I love that game. Still a fun game.
He won't have as good a stories as
Yeah, exactly. All right. Peace out. Love you.